Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Cassie. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. Today we have a recommendation video. A spooktacular recommendation video. Get it? Because of the makeup? I don't know why this is what I went with, but here we are. A little moment for the makeup. I'm cute. Today's recommendation video is for those who want to be in the spooky season, but don't read horrors and thrillers. If you're a fantasy gal like me, but you want to embrace the spooks, this is for you. It'll be a bunch of books that I think have some sort of like spooky nature to them, either in setting, in the magic system. Lots of them have like more like demon things, and some have like vampires, things that make you think fall, October, spooky season. Let's get right on into it. Let's start off easy with books I talk about all the freaking time on my channel. Let me just pull out this series. This is the Burning Blade and Silver Eye series by Django Wexler. The first two books are out and the third book comes out in January. Ashes of the Sun works perfectly for this. If you're looking for a book with just a little like spooky element, pick this one up. Ashes of the Sun, I have a whole video on why you should read it, and you can check it out. It follows two siblings. We follow the sister who was taken away when she was very young and now works for the Empire, and then we have the brother who hated what that did to his family and what happened to him at that time, and he now works for the rebellion and is trying to like take down the Empire. I love that setup. I don't know why, but I just love it. But why I think this works perfectly for spooky season is there are these creatures that are like bodies that have been like they murder something and then they like digest the body into them. It's kind of like a body horror element, and they like become pieces of each other and like the things they killed. So it would have like human legs and a spider's torso, and like they're just really, really creepy. And I think that that is perfect for spooky season. Other than that, in order to sell you on this book, I would say it is a Star Wars type magic system. There's like two magic systems that you kind of get to go through. There is the Chosen and the people with the blood of the Chosen. And then we have the ghouls who are like also kind of creepy and I feel like spooky-ish. And we have like two different magic systems, two different arcs. It reads quite young. If you're looking for a fantasy to get into adult fantasy, I think this one works really well. It's very accessible. We have some younger characters. I think they're about 22 to like 27-ish. And I don't know, I really, really enjoyed this one. I think Django Wexler's writing is great. I think that you should definitely pick this up, especially if you're looking for a spooky season fantasy read. Then I'm going to put City of Stairs on this list. We have in this book, it's a murder mystery with like the mystery of the gods and the divine creatures. In this, you do get to see a couple like divine monsters. There's this thing under the water killing people. There's a girl that like is in a circle and is like asking for help, and then she like, when you go in to help her, she kills you and she's not actually a little girl. Like there are some spooky things in here, but it's like very, very like subtle and small amounts. The rest of the book is all fantasy. In this book, we're following our protagonist who goes to find out what happened to her old like mentor who was murdered, and she starts to find like a conspiracy plot and know what he was working on, and also kind of understand more what happened to the gods, because in this book at one point someone human killed off all the gods, and the gods, anything that had to do with the gods, left, and the new continent took over and said talking about the gods and those creatures was illegal, and our protagonist goes around and kind of like gets rid of anything that is divine and hides it so that people don't think that the divine are still around and still a thing. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I think Foundry Side is better written than this one, but I really, really liked the magic in this. I think if you're a character-driven reader, you might struggle. I find Robert Jackson Bennett's characters fall a little bit flat, but his world and his plots are good enough for me. Let's talk about Rage of Dragons. This is the second book. I think that this works for spooky season because there's this like underworld in this where Tao goes to like train, and in this underworld like demons come and they just kill you, and you can't like defeat the demons. There's so many of them that you'll never kill them all. So like if you're there, you know you're gonna die, and like kind of the only way to get out of there is to die. And it's super cool. It's something that people don't talk about when they discuss the book, but it's one of my favorite elements of the book. Also, if you are a witch in this and you go down there, you can actually die, like for good. Like either you're dead or you're not. You can die. You die down here, but normally you're not dead. But you like felt through the pain of that death and you'll remember it. But if you're a witch, you get dead if you're down there. I talk about Rage Dragons all the time on my channel. I love Rage Dragons. You should read it. It's an African-inspired fantasy, own voices. We follow Tao, who is a lesser race, and when a superior race kills his father, it sets him into a revenge path, and he joins the army and the military to say that he can be better than all of them, even though he is lesser, and he has to prove everything and murder the person who harmed him. And it's really freaking good. It's dark, it's depressing, it's perfect for spooky season. Another one I talk about all the time on this channel is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence, or more in depth, the whole book, the Ancestor trilogy. I mean, there's assassin nuns. Like, there's a covenant of assassin nuns. I feel like that's just spooky. Like, that's just, that screams scary. But in all fairness, I think a lot of the spook comes into the second book when there is, like, a demon introduced within the second book. So I think that that's why I would put this on this list. But I do still think that if you're looking for a bit of a spookier read, I mean, this is borderline grimdark. It's kind of on the edge. Most people classify it as grimdark. So I feel like the grimness adds to, like, that spook factor. And if you're looking for spookiness, here we go. In this book, we follow Nona Gray, who ends up finding out that she can use one of the magics, and she ends up going to Sweet Mercy Covenant, which is, I always say Covenant, but it's Convent, isn't it? All of my life on this channel I've been saying Covenant, but it's Convent. But yeah, you know, she goes to Sweet Mercy and she trains to be an assassin, and you get to see her grow up. She starts at like age 12 and she ends a lot older, but this book never reads as YA. It is through and through adult, even though we have young characters and it is a training school, and yeah, perfect for spooky season. I need a coffee break. Let's try not to fuck up the makeup. I need a straw next time. How cute is this glass, though? This is like sneak peeks to what's coming. I call this a recommendation list, but not every book on this list is something I wholeheartedly adored. This is one of them. We have City of Dusk by Tara Sim. I despised this book. I did not enjoy it. I gave it 1 star. But I know people who have loved it. I think that I am very valid for my opinion, but also so are they. And that just shows you how taste is subjective, and here we are. And this one does really scream spooky season. There is a necromancer, there are dead gods and portal fantasy, and we have like shadow characters who can wield shadow, and there is, I really just think it's a necromancy. I mean, this cover to me screams like spooky season and fall, and if I hadn't already read it, I would be reading it this season, but thank the Lord I'm not, because I did not enjoy this one. But I do think that there is potential for so many people to love it. I know Ashley from Frolic Through Fiction. I know Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction gave it 5 stars and wholeheartedly adored it. It is branded as adult, but I personally think that it is YA. It was Tara Sim's debut adult novel. I think it just doesn't stretch the boundary between YA and adult enough for me to even classify it as new adult. I really do think that it reads YA, which is just not something that I enjoy on this channel, so also take that into account. If you do enjoy YA, you might like it. I do think this book went all over the place, but I'm here to tell you that it works for a spooky season read. So many books that I don't have the first of. I do actually own the first of the series, but my sister currently has it, because I want her to read it. But the Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. This is the Course of Dragons series by Jen Lyons, and I think this works perfectly because there are demons in this series like crazy. There is literally a giant demon that they have to that you meet really early on and they have to defeat, and I just think the demon vibes, and there is kind of like an underworld area where they fight the demons, and I really just think that this works really well. Rage of Dragons is so hard to explain. It follows Kieran, who learns that he is actually the son of one of the royal lines and not the son of who he thinks he was, and that opens doors for him that he didn't really want. And he ends up escaping, and then everyone's after him, and he doesn't really know why. The demons are chasing him. The royal bloodlines are chasing him. There's this convent that's chasing him. There's dragons chasing him. Like, it becomes, like, hectic and crazy, and Kieran could be destined to save the world, but he also could be destined to destroy it. And it's done. I really think that the key to why I love this so much is the gimmick in the writing. So if you don't like a gimmick, then you probably won't like this. It's told by two POVs. Essentially, Kieran starts telling his story, and he's in a room with this demon named Talon, and Talon goes, no, wait, your story didn't start there, it starts here. And then we have two timelines telling Kieran's story, and then we have a narrator, like, overarching it and putting, like, important facts in, since this is actually a book. Like, this book is a book about books. It's actually a book. I think that's really cool, and I really like it, and the gimmick does continue in all of the books, so if you don't like it, be warned, but I really enjoyed it. The next one I'm going to put on this list is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is like a dark academia book. We're in a school setting, but the school is filled with, like, demons, and there's a trend here with demons that are out to kill you. Like, the entire school is out to kill you, besides, like, your own bedroom is, like, the only safe spot. So we're following our main character, who is not very likable, but I adored her. I love an unlikable character, though. And she has to get through this school, and she's not really good at making friends, so she's trying to get through the school alone, and she's trying not to use a dark power that she has, which is, like, kind of similar, like, necromancy vibes, that is kind of looked down upon, so she's trying not to show that she has that power, and she's trying to get through school, when she somehow ends up making friends with the, like, school popular guy, and he ends up just, like, saving her life a bunch of times, and they, like, tagging along with her, and they end up, like, kind of making an alliance to get through this. She just has to make it through the school year and not die, and I really liked this. There are some issues with it. It definitely is, like, a YA type read, but I adored it. I really enjoyed it. I gave this book 5 stars. I don't know how I haven't continued it yet, but I definitely think that this one works. Dark academia and demons, like, perfect spooky season fantasy book. The next one I'm going to put on this list is Daughter of Redwinter. I just recently read this, and it really, really worked for me. I'm going to call this light fantasy. It's about our main character who can see the dead, and in this world, seeing the dead is a death sentence. So she's trying to, like, hide the fact that she sees the dead, and she ends up going to train at a school, kind of. And you just get to see her, like, kind of realize that her power is bad and, like, why it's not bad and all these other things. I don't really want to give away too much about this book. I do think it is very character driven. It's light fantasy. It's not my usual read. It's a little more whimsical, but not whimsy. It's not whimsy, but it's, like, more whimsical than what I normally read. And there's ghosts. There's just tons of ghosts, and I really liked the ghosts. I found the magic system intriguing. There is good character banter with one of the characters that I really liked, and I think it's setting something up for the future for all my romance girlies. And yeah, I just really, really adored this one for some reason, and it really worked for me, even though normally it shouldn't have. But I think it's definitely a really quick read for spooky season. And then I'm going to put The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams on this list. The Ninth Reign works well for this, one, because there's vampires. There's, like, I call them vampire-like creatures. They're essentially vampires, but they are, like, a little bit different. They weren't made to be vampires. They're, like, born like vampires, and they don't choose to drink human blood, but something happens that, like, forces them to do it. It's really, really interesting, and I adore it. There's also, like, weird, like, spirit things that are in the forest trying to kill you, and they, like, just, like, eat you, and they're, like, almost like a ghost. The, like, whole forest is trying to kill you, essentially. And I don't know, I really, really liked this one. It's my backlist book club pick. Currently, we're reading the last book literally right now. The live show is Sunday for any of you that have to be there, including me. I need to read the book. It follows, it's so hard to explain this book. We're following a world that there is aliens that come down every couple of years. They just try to kill the entire world. They want to take over it. They want to, like, eat everything on it, get rid of it. But the vampires get their lifeblood from the tree god, and they go and fight these aliens off with their war beasts that come down from the tree god as well. But something's happened after the 8th reign. the tree god has stopped making its sap, which is what like the lifeblood is from, and no one has heard from it since then. So the vampires have started dying off. There hasn't been another rain in a while, but when the 9th rain comes, how in the heck are the world going to defeat these aliens? Because it's most likely coming soon. Also, there are witches. I really think that this is a really good fall spooky season read, a perfect fantasy book, so definitely pick this one up and binge it. I never hear it talked about enough, and I adored it. I gave the first book 5 stars. It is a little bit of a sci-fi horror fantasy mix, in my opinion, and if you're looking for something unique and different in the fantasy world, that's a good one. And the last one I'm going to put on this list is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a fantasy romance. This is spooky in a way that I can't really tell you about, but trust me on it, if you're looking for a spookier fantasy romance, like you don't just want to read like fairy porn, read this. It just is perfect for spooky season in my opinion, with like the magic system and what's really going on. We follow Poppy, who is like sacred in this world. She's not allowed to like ever be touched, to really have people see her face, to have any type of enjoyment. And she doesn't really know why, besides like what people have been telling her, but it's kind of like they don't tell her a lot. And when one of her guards dies, she gets a new guard who doesn't necessarily follow all the rules and kind of pokes the boundaries a little bit, and things start to spice up a little bit. I'm not a big fantasy romance gal, and I adore this series. I really need to continue it because I haven't, and maybe this is the time during spooky season. That is all the spooky season fantasy books I have for you at this moment in time. Let me know if you liked this list. Let me know if you're going to read anything off this list, because obviously spooks. I love spooky season, even as a fantasy reader. Anyways, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me some kind of black emoji, like a black heart, a skull, something like dark and creepy. A black bird, any black emoji, just because my little skull is black. Or you can leave me a skull. I just wasn't sure if there was a skull emoji, so one of those things, black or a skull. And anyways, thank you so much for tagging along. If you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves a spooktacular day.
Dancing with myself, dancing with myself.